Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from, and a very warm welcome to this SBR InFocus webinar. My name is Martin Mwebia, and I'm part of the team that provides student support here at ACCA. And this session today is designed to support your preparation for the SBR exam, and we are stepping in the mind of the marker in this session. And for that, I'm very pleased to be joined by expert tutor Tom Clendon. Thank you so much, Tom, for finding time to join us on this session today.
A pleasure.
Great. Now, before I hand over to Tom, I'd just like to cover a few housekeeping items. There are a number of buttons at the bottom of your screen, which are going to be useful in this session. You will see a help icon on the left, and that provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues that you might experience. There are icons for the slides and the media player. The content will be displayed on these two screens, so please make sure that you can see both of those in the webinar. There is also an attendee chat function, and that will enable you to engage with fellow webinar attendees, and that icon is on the right-hand side. So please do not share any private information, phone numbers, email addresses, because that's a public forum. Now, there's also a list of the available resources. You'll see an icon that looks like a file symbol. And once you click on that, you'll be able to access the resources that are relevant to today's webinar, including direct links to all the resources that we allude to, as well as a PDF version of the slides that we are using for this session. Now, you can always rearrange your screen and resize the windows if you need to. And if at any point you can't hear what we are saying or you can't see any visuals, please do refresh your browser. Now, if you've registered for this session, you'll receive an email in the next 24 hours with details on how you can listen in to it again. So please don't worry much if you miss out on anything or if you have any technical issues, because you will have access to the recording. Now, I'm going to hand over to Tom in a bit. And if you'd like to ask us a question, please use the Q&A button, which is somewhere in the middle of your screen. And please do put in your questions early. We have a team in the back end that will be responding as the webinar progresses. So don't wait to the last minute to put in your question. Put it in early and we'll have the team in the back end responding to as many questions as possible. And of course, Tom will pick a number of questions towards the end and respond to them live. So with that being said, Tom, shall I hand over to you now for the session?
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. And welcome, everybody. I can see some of you are identifying a particular potential technical issue with the PDF of the slides not working. I'm sure ACCA are working in the background to fix that. Let's be in the present. And let me make a little bit of a gentle start, because we have an action-packed hour today. The headline message is we want to look at inside the mind of the marker, and there's a really good article that the ACCA have produced that I'm going to effectively summarize and go over, but part of the takeaway from this session is that you should be working your way through that article itself. I also am conscious that the vast majority of you, bonjour, I'm also conscious that the vast majority of you are doing the exam in a couple of weeks' time for December. So I want to give you some very practical, hands-on advice as to how to prepare for the December exam. And of course, there will be a limited amount of time at the end for any questions you have of me relating to SBR. And if you want to ask me a question, can you put it in the Q&A panel? Yeah, like Martin was saying, yeah, can you put it in the Q&A panel? All right. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to introduce myself. Okay. And part of introducing me to you is to tell you where I am coming from. I'm broadcasting here from St Albans. I'm broadcasting here from London. And I've put that in the attendee chat. I would be just momentarily curious to know where you were dialing in from, because that would give me confidence that you can see the attendee chat, because I will be asking you other questions in the attendee chat. So if you could tell me where you're dialing in from, that would be appreciated. Bonjour, France and Gloucester and Croatia and South Africa. I love it. I absolutely love it. Manchester, Poland. Fantastic. We have a rich variety of attendees, and that is fantastic. That is fantastic. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself. I am an ACCA member. Now, that means that I did these exams myself, in my 20s when I was working. So I'm aware of the pressure that you are under as you juggle the beginning of your professional career with examinations. And things are different now, and things are easier now. Are they easier now? They're different now. If you look at these symbols here, LinkedIn. If you're not a member of LinkedIn, sign up for LinkedIn. There's some fantastic resources that are there available on LinkedIn, and I will be talking about that a little bit later. I spent my early career working for KPMG, dealing with the bankruptcies of Gary Glitter for one, George Best for another, but that's another story. Because my career and vocation really took off. I discovered my vocation was teaching, and I spent the vast majority of my professional life working for AT, Emil Wolf, FTC, Kaplan, within the London area. But 10 years ago, I left and did a lot of teaching out in Malaysia, Wuzang Thong, know Malaysia really well, settled in Singapore for a number of years and taught across Southeast Asia, had an absolutely fantastic experience. But now I do this for a living. I help students pass SBR. I'm an independent SBR tutor. My name is Tom Clendon, and I help students pass SBR. And this, for me, is why I am here. I am here to help you. And today, I'm helping you by thinking about the marker and thinking, if you can get into your head how the marker is thinking, you can make friends with the marker and you will find it easier to earn the marks. OFR. What are the markers trained to look at? OFR. OFR stands for Own Figure Rule. Now, the Own Figure Rule is sometimes known as method marking. Let's imagine you've got to do a calculation in question 1 of an impairment loss. And then you take that impairment loss and you update the pre-populated spreadsheet. And let's imagine that you've calculated the impairment loss on the goodwill to be 10. So you show minus 10 against the column. You have a new column in your pre-populated spreadsheet, minus 10. Now, if minus 10 is numerically the wrong answer, you will still get a mark for putting in minus 10 in your pre-populated spreadsheet, but you won't necessarily be earning all of the marks for the calculation of the impairment loss. Own Figure Rule. If you do the right thing to the wrong number, you still get a mark. Own Figure Rule, method marking. One caveat: show your workings. If you just write -10 and it's a number without any form of calculation or reference as to where it comes from, you're not going to get the mark. But if you've shown a working and you've made an attempt at calculating that impairment loss, you will get a method mark. Own figure rule. How many professional marks are there at SBR? How many professional marks are there at strategic business reporting? Some of you are experiencing some lagging. Just be patient or watch it on the watch it. Yes, Libby, correct. 4. Yes, Max. 4. Yes, Fatima. 4. Yes, Charlotte. 4. Thank you. Because SBR is unique. Because all the other strategic professional papers have 20 professional marks. This exam is more technical. This exam is more time pressured because we have got 96 technical marks on offer. We've only got 4 professional marks. Correct, Katie. We've only got 4. We've only got 4. And 2 of those are in question 2, and 2 of those are in question 4. So you get 2 marks in ethics in question 2 if you're structured, if you're using headings, if you give a complete answer, if you successfully link properly the case to the ethical principles. Olu, perfect. Thank you. Amar, we cannot live in hope. We live in reality. Yeah, there are only 4 in the December exam. And there are 2 marks in question 4, which tends to involve investor focus. So if the answer is complete, rounded, well-structured, considered, mature, if it's good enough to show to your boss, if it's good enough to show to a client, you're going to be earning those professional marks. They're a byproduct of a good answer, yeah? Professional marks. So just be aware of that. The markers are trained to look out for them and to give you them. Spelling. Are you penalized for bad spelling? Are you penalized? Are they trained to look after, to mark you down for spelling? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Providing they can understand what you are writing, you do not have to worry about spelling, okay? Yeah, you've got to be articulate, you've got to be clear, but there's no spell check on the ACCA practice platform or in the exam. So don't worry about spelling at all. But please do worry about whether or not you're putting a plus or a minus in the pre-populated spreadsheet. Because if you've calculated correctly that impairment loss is 10 and you add it to goodwill and you don't show the brackets, you don't show the minus against the goodwill, you don't get any marks for dropping it in to the pre-populated spreadsheet. In the pre-populated spreadsheet, there is basically 1 mark for every number that you put in, but it has to be put in correctly as a plus or a minus. In a cash flow, when you're dealing with investing and financing activities, if it's money going out, it's a minus, and if it's money coming in, it's a plus. And in your profit and loss account, if you're wanting to increase an expense, it's a minus. If you're putting additional depreciation, that is a minus because the expenses are minuses already and you're wanting to make the minus number bigger. Good. That's what they're trained to look out for. The markers are human. They're not AI. It's not about objective testing. They are reading your answer. They are reading your answer, and they are not reading what they've read the examiner's answer, but your answer is not going to use the same words and have the same depth and have the same clarity as the examiner's answer. They're looking at your answer and they will still give it marks. They're using their professional judgment. Believe it or not, the markers are on your side. They have the sweets, they have the marks, and they want to give them. They want to give them. So give them an opportunity to allow them to award the mark. Use white space. Think one mark at a time. When you've made a sentence, when you've made a little paragraph, Joshua says, and I'll deal with it now, but I would really prefer the big questions to be dealt with in the Q&A. But Joshua says that he's found sometimes the model answers are very extensive, difficult to determine what key points are realistically. I empathize with you. You have to contextualize and remember that the Kaplan answers and the BPV answers and the examiner's answers, well, they're models. They're perfection. They're what you can learn some technical knowledge from them, but they do not represent, what it takes to just get through the exam. And the ACCA know that. And that's actually one of the underlying reasons why they have done this article, Read the Mind of the Marker, because they show you a couple of different answers. The other thing I'd say, Joshua, is, go on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I'm not here to particularly plug it, but it's not a revenue thing. I'm here to help students. You go on my YouTube channel, you will see me working answers to time. Struggling, putting something together that is good enough to pass is a good answer. And I'll come back to that a little bit out. A little bit out. Okay, so there are positive marking. If you say something wrong, if you say an advantage of sustainability reporting is that it will help users understand deferred tax, doesn't make sense. You don't lose a mark. Okay, there's no negative marking. So if you're asked for 3 marks for advantages, you've got to think about giving 3 answers. And if one of them is wrong, you don't lose a mark. So if in doubt, guess. If in doubt, guess. Pooja, you do not need to rote learn specifically word for word the definition of impairment or provisions or of a subsidiary, but you do need to understand those key definitions, because those key definitions will be part of your answer as combined with the scenario that you've got. So it's not about rote learning. How marks are awarded? 1 mark at a time. 1 mark at a time. And get into that mindset. Don't write 3, 4, 5 sentences saying the same thing. Don't write 3, 4, 5 sentences in a single block paragraph. Develop good exam technique where you are effectively challenging the marker. This is worth a mark. Giving you a depth, this is worth a mark. I've made an exploration of 1 point, this is worth a mark. I've drawn a conclusion, this is worth a mark. I've done a small calculation, this is worth a mark. Make your answer pleasing to the eye by using white space. Think like a marker does. Think like a marker does. These longer questions, please, if you can put them in the Q&A chat, then I can come back to them later. I like meerkats. I think they're lovely animals. I've never seen them in the wild, but I do like Moby. Let's hit the 20th century. Yeah, let's hit the 20th century. Let's practice spreadsheets. Yeah, if you have a weakness, work on it. Okay, it's not a pen and paper exam, and it's not going back to being a pen and paper exam. I admire and acknowledge your self-reflection that you have a weakness. Own it. Yeah, solve it. Yeah, ACCA practice platform. Get on it. Practice using, because it's not Excel. It's not the same as Excel. Yeah. So you have a struggle, brothers, sisters. We're all having a struggle. Yeah. Let's help ourselves. How are marks not awarded? How are marks not awarded? I've got 5 different answers here. Has anybody got any ideas what's a waste of time in the exam? That if you do it in an exam and you're not gaining any marks, has anybody got any kind of thought processes? One thing that doesn't earn you any marks is the aggregation of the final column in the pre-populated spreadsheet. Regurgitating standards, Libby, absolutely correct. Regurgitating standards won't really get there. Copy and paste of the scenario with no explanation. Oh my God, you should be doing this presentation for me. Writing but not answering the questions. Dana, I love it. I love it. Listing everything you know without applying it to the scenario. Johnny, fantastic advice. We are sharing best practice. Aileen, no application. Because to pass this exam, we need to have 3 things: application, application, and application. So let me go through my 5. In question 1, there is going to be a pre-populated spreadsheet, and that pre-populated spreadsheet does not need to be aggregated. I know every time you see a model answer, mine included, you will see the final column, but there are no marks available for that. You get a mark for the adjustment. Full stop. You don't get a mark for saying, so if goodwill is 200, the impairment is 10, the final answer is 190, but you get the mark for the minus 10 in a separate column in the pre-populated spreadsheet. Copy and cutting and paste an answer that you've done in the spreadsheet, then copying it into the word response area or vice versa. Matthias, put it in the Q&A. Matthias, put it in the Q&A. So you don't get, it's a waste of time to duplicate, yeah, stuff in your Word answer to your Excel answer. The markers will see both. You correct, Asnia, correct. Don't bother with the total column. I have just saved you 2 minutes, 3 minutes of your life in the exam. Use those extra 2 or 3 minutes in order to get an extra mark at the back end of the question and answering question 4 properly. James, absolutely correct. If there's a takeaway from this, if that's what you've learned from this session, that's a valuable 2 or 3 minutes in the exam. Take it from me, absolutely. It's in the examiner's reports. Yeah, I'm giving it to you straight. You do not get any marks for the name and number of the IFRS. So don't bother learning or quoting, yeah, paragraph 4 of IFRS, ISA 36 says the definition of impairment is. That's all just wasted words. Yeah, cut to the chase. The standard says. End of. Yeah, end of. You don't need to know the name or number of the accounting standard. So I wonder, put the question in the Q&A. Put the question in the Q&A. You don't, again, I read the examiner's reports. They're there for everybody to read. And one of the things the examining team bang on about every exam is this idea of copying information from the exhibit, dumping it in the answer. So the answer looks long. It's not really the way obvious. Well, to me, it's obvious. That's not the way to earn any marks. Got to answer the question. Oh, here's a strange one. Time out for a second. Well, whoever whoever did that marking, wasn't an ACCA marker, wasn't quite on stream. Let me tell you, on this channel, in this context, you do not get marks for quoting the name and number of the accounting standard. That is not good feedback for you peers. All right, trust me. Trust me. That's not what you need to do. Not what you need to do. A perfect answer. Now, I am. You can check this. Look at the examiner's answer. Look at the marking guide. Typically, on the pre-populated spreadsheet, it may be for 12 marks, but there are 15 numbers. And in the marking guide, it uses the word maximum. Jessica, I'm glad I put the story straight. I'm standing by my words. Let me go back to how you don't want to have a perfect answer. And by the way, I know in the examiner's answer, the examiner will quote the name and number of the accounting standard to enable you to go and reference it. But in the marking guide and the markers, you are not getting marks for naming the number and full name of the accounting standard. LSBF, Martin probably gave you good advice. I'm moving on. Question 1, if you've got 12 marks or so on the pre-populated spreadsheet, the marking guide will give you 15 different ways to earn those 12 marks. There may be 15 different ways to earn those 12 marks, but you cannot earn 13. So if actually you produce a perfect answer, it's a waste of time. Now that's really hard to hear. If you produce a perfect answer, you're not getting 15 out of 12. If you're discussing the advantages of sustainability reporting, the model answer may give 5 or 6 different advantages and say 1 mark per valid point, but it will be to a maximum of 3. So if you give 4 valid points, you do not get 4 out of 3. Okay? So, Libby, perfect. Thank you for that comment, Libby. So these are ways, these are bad habits you want to avoid. Don't aggregate, don't duplicate, don't have to rote learn the number, don't copy and paste across, and perfection is overrated. I have never taught a student at SBR, and trust me, I have taught thousands who's got 100%. I've had students in the 90s, but never 100%. No one is perfect. You don't need to be perfect. I'm training you to pass an exam with a pass mark of 50%. I'm not training you to land an aeroplane, and I'm not training you to do open heart surgery. If I was training you to do open heart surgery or to land an aeroplane, my criteria would be, you better get this right 100% of the time. I'm comfortable with you passing this exam and still making some mistakes. We move. We move. Low-hanging fruit sometimes goes unpicked. Low-hanging fruit sometimes goes unpicked. Because students get to the end, they don't get to question 4. They don't get to the last question. And therefore, there's some easy marks which are missing. there are some easy marks which are missing. You have to have the time management discipline to answer every part of the exam. You also have to be not a genius. You don't need to be a genius on financial instruments or a genius on impairment or a genius on borrowing costs or a genius on investment property or a genius on... You have to know something about everything. Breadth is more important than depth. Breadth is always more important than depth. If any topic comes up, you need to be able to say something about it. You need to have the time and the knowledge to say something about it. Show your workings so you get the benefit of any doubt. Show your working so you get the benefit of any doubt. And in your ethics question, you must justify. You can't simply say, this is unethical. You have to justify why it is unethical and link it to a pillar. Okay? So, yeah, those are some common reasons. And these are all effectively distilled from both the examiner's reports, my experience, yeah, and the Read the Mind of the Marker article. Read the mind of an SBR marker. And so ACCA have, by, I'm going to say public demand, all right, responded. And they have produced material which shows you student answers and goes through and shows how the marks were awarded for 2 student answers. Because the ACCA themselves acknowledge that it's important to remember that you do not need to replicate the published answer to achieve a pass. So they have taken 2 candidates' scripts and they have gone through their answers and shown how the marks are awarded, were awarded in that context. And the 2 students they have chosen are an absolutely fantastic student and a student who is a little bit of a car crash, if I am blunt. Obviously, these are anonymized. The prize-winning student ends up with 27 out of 30, so produces an answer probably as good as I would have produced, produces an answer which falls short of the model answer and yet extrapolates out to a mark in the 90s. Zakira, please can you put that question in the Q&A? I would love to address it at the end in the Q&A. The risk is I'll forget it if it's just in the attendee chat. The poor student gets 9 out of 30. So I'm giving you a little bit of a flavor. Of this article. It's all about question 1. Yeah, it's all about this question called auto and trailer. Now, a 30-mark question takes an hour plus to work through, and I'm not allowed to, or it's not appropriate, it's not the right thing to do in this context, to spend that amount of time just on this one question. We've got the whole article there. I'm giving you the tease. Now, there's a couple of things I'd like you to be aware of. If I look at that requirement, there's A, B, and C. If I look at that requirement, requirement A says using Exhibit 1. Requirement B says using Exhibit 2, and requirement C1 says using Exhibit 3. And so you can have the confidence and the safety of not having to read Exhibit 2 and not having to use Exhibit 3 in order to answer Part A. So in the exam, time management is absolutely crucial. in terms of what you would do, you would concentrate on answering part A first. Often I talk about answering question 1 holistically. This particular case, that doesn't quite come across because we're not doing the calculations and updating. It does seem to be a slightly different type of requirement. You always have to read the requirement. Always. A part 1, calculate. I kid you not, some people gave the definition of goodwill in A part 1 and said, goodwill is the premium that arises on consolidation, when the parent buys the sub and pays more than the fair value of the net asset. Brilliant. Technically correct. It's not answering the question. A part 1 was all about calculation, and A part 2 was all about explanation. You only get marks in A part 1 for numbers, and you only get marks in A part 2 for words. Pre-populated spreadsheet. This answer was correct. The goodwill arising on acquisition was 19. And you can see here how cell B60, although the number of 6 is there, this candidate has used the cell to put in the formula and therefore done the calculation correctly, quickly, efficiently, and left an audit trail. They haven't just written in the number 6 because the number 6 requires a calculation. All right. So, that's one way of doing it, 3 out of 3. That's another way of doing it, which is also 3 out of 3, because the working has been done on the working has been done by the other candidate in the word processor. And you can see they've got the number 6 and they've shown in brackets the calculation. Really important that they leave that audit trail. The marker can see the formulas that they use. Yes, the cells. You're making them sweat. Yes, they can see the formulas that they use. They can hover, and if you hover over the cell, then it does display. So the answer to that question, Libby, is yes. If it's pre-populated, is the pro forma already there? Yes, Jessica, it is. Now, what the candidate has done on the right-hand side is produced an answer. And remember, that requirement was for 5 marks. Goodwill must be assessed for impairment if the internal or external indicators that an asset have declined compared to market value. Absolutely rubbish. Absolute rubbish, because goodwill is subject to an annual impairment review. If any impairment losses arises, it will be attributed to the goodwill of the CGU first. Perfect. This answer was trying to do 5 marks. Pooja, can you copy and paste and put that in the Q&A, please? I'll forget it. I'll come back to it, Pooja. Please put questions you want me to answer in the Q&A. That answer there is only worth 1 mark because they have referred to it, whereas this answer was worth 5 marks. And still shorter than the examiner's model answer. Because this is a good answer. You can see the use of white space. It's technically correct. It starts off with some definition. It starts off with some theory, and then it deals with the specific application of trailer, the specific application of the NCI, because the NCI were a proportion of net assets, so blah, 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 blah. My advice is to not necessarily watch this part of the video again, but actually to go in to do, the article properly. Let's talk about some practical advice. And the practical advice is I'm signposting you to the Read the Mind of the Marker article, which takes you through how a marker has marked 2 different scripts of question 1 auto from the September 2023 exam. So in order for you to get the most out of that article, I would urge you, to first of all do auto. Do it as part of your revision. Right. What's the practical advice? 3 things. What do you want to do between now and the exam? What do you do 24 hours before the exam? And what do you do the day of the exam? Right. Between now and the exam, I don't know whether you're working full-time, part-time. I don't know whether you've got a wife, a husband, children to care for. I don't know. But you know your exercise routine, you know your sleep routine, you know your life, and you've got to fit in between now and the exam, work, study, revision. So you need to have a plan, and you need to share that plan with your partner, with your boss, with your loved ones. We're all social animals. We're all connected. They're going to hold you to account. You're going to go missing in action the next couple of weeks as you prioritize passing this examination. So you've got to get their buy-in. 3 things I think you want to think about: knowledge, time, and morale. Now, when it comes to knowledge, you can improve your knowledge. Now, I'm assuming you're not signed up. I'm assuming that you're not necessarily got a course to follow. I'm assuming that you're self-studying. Because if you're self-studying, you're the thirsty ones. And how are you going to improve your knowledge? Yeah? Study Hub. Free. It's there. Articles. Video articles. They're there. Podcasts. They're there. Find them. Easy. ACCA have them. I have them. Study Hub. The knowledge is there. What I would say, though, be very careful that you don't spend all your time soaking. That's what you do in the tuition phase. This is about passing an exam. And to pass an exam, you need to squeeze out. You need to apply. So you can improve your knowledge. You will improve your knowledge. Yeah? But remember that perfection is overrated. Revise your revision. Make sure you know what you know. All right? Because you've done the work. Time is the major enemy. The closer we get to the exam, the more we do past exam questions, the more you become aware of the need to apply your knowledge. Libby, I'm pleased that you've enjoyed my podcast. Fantastic. Thank you for saying so. Do questions, ideally to time. There's past examination questions available on the practice platform. Yeah, be active, do it. Don't just like look at the question and then review the answer. That's not practical. That's not really that beneficial. Thank you for sharing that, Martin. ACCA, bless them, hug them, squeeze them. You pay fees to them. You enter the exam for them. And they do stuff for you. One of the things they do is this session. This does not cost you anything. So this is something that the ACCA are helping you. They want you to pass the examination. Pooja, put it in the Q&A, please. I will deal with it when I get to it. There's an ACCA pre-mock. Have you done the ACCA pre-mock? If I say question 1, Whitaker, if I say question 1, Whitaker, does anybody know what I'm talking about? ACCA, SBR pre-mock, have you done it? ACCA question 1 pre-mock, have you done it? Why? Say, if you have done it, put a Y in. If you haven't done it, put an N in. ACCA pre-mock. Well done, Bavinda. Yeah, not yet. Oh, I like that. I like that. So there's lots of, oh, tinned up, in progress. Good, well done. Planning on doing it. Love it, love it. It is difficult. It is a challenge. But you come out of it stronger. And I have debriefed that. And you can find my debrief both on the ACCA YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel. Yeah, you can find, go on LinkedIn, go on my LinkedIn account. You will find resources to help you with the ACCA pre-December mock. I cannot tell you, the ACCA have gone to the time and trouble and cost of giving you a pre-mock. The difference in results, the difference in pass rates between those students who do the pre-mock, who are properly prepared for the exam, and those who don't use the practice platform, there's a gulf. I am wanting to help you pass the ACCA exam. You are not ready to do the mock. Oh, no, I'm not ready. Oh, you're never going to be ready. The way to get ready to do the actual exam is to do mocks, is to challenge yourself, You've got to have knowledge, but I think knowledge doesn't need to be perfect. You've got to have good time management, absolutely essential, and is what you're working on. And you've got to keep your shit together. You've got to keep your morale. You've got to keep your head above water. You mustn't burn out. And if you can find a study buddy, yeah, if you can, yeah, get somebody to mark your mocks, fantastic. Yeah, you can get somebody to mark your mocks, fantastic. Is there someone in your life who's a recently qualified accountant? Just by them looking at it, they maybe can see immediately the layout, whatever. Plan is key, absolutely. 24 hours before the exam. Mike Tyson, he had a fight, didn't he, last week, this week, a few days ago? What do you think he did the night before the fight? Do you think he did a hard gym session? Yeah? Do you think he did 12 rounds with his trainer? I don't think so. I think the night before a big fight, I think Mike Tyson probably had a massage. I think somebody spoke to him about the game plan, what happened, what he wanted to do. He rested, he relaxed. He got himself in a positive frame of mind, knowing that he'd done the work beforehand. Albeit in his mind, he must have thought, hang on a minute, I'm a bit old for this game. He certainly didn't fight. Don't do the mock exam the night before the exam. Do the mock exam this weekend. Now's the time to burn. Now's the time to put the hard work in. The night before the exam, it's all about positive frame of mind. On exam day itself. Execute your exam plan. You do have a plan, don't you? You are going to work out whether you want to do question 1 first, or question 2 first, or question 3 first, or question 4 first. You don't want to go into the exam. Thinking, oh, what I'll do is I'll read the whole exam and then I'll just, no. You go into the exam and you know already which question you're going to do first. Some of you will be question 2. Some of you will be question 1. Some of you might even be 3 or 4. Doesn't matter. Have a plan. Practice that plan on the mock exam. What does JMO stand for? Yeah, What does JMO stand for? Anybody know what JMO stands for? Anybody know what JMO stands for? Thank you, Farah. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what you have to do in the examination. Thank you, Zainab. Yeah, we have to move on. Thank you, Reese. Keep the faith. Don't give up. Keep the faith. Don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. Here's a poll. Here's a poll. Here's a poll. I hope you can see the poll. Fantastic. I'm so pleased that 100% of you do practice mock exams. Maybe I didn't leave enough time for everybody to do that poll. But what I have done is I have JMO. I'm therefore able now to look at the questions that you have asked me. And let me therefore have a look at some of these prior questions. Tordu asks, will foreign currency translation questions always come out in the exam? The use of the word always means I'm going to say no. They won't always come out in the exam. Are they in the syllabus? Yes. Are they tested? Yes. Do you need to know how to do a foreign exchange difference? Yes. But they don't always come up in the exam. Natasha says, does the SBR exam have the same structure each year in terms of questions 1 to 4? Now, the answer to that question basically is yes. That since we've had the new syllabus, since we've got question 1 with a pre-populated spreadsheet, question 2 with ethics, question 3 on standards, question 4, 3 and 4 are both for 25 marks. So it's 30, 20, 25, 25. Have a look at the most recent questions. Fundamentally, yes, the exams and the ACCA mock exam will be in the same format. So yes, familiarize yourselves with that. Right, what other questions do I have here? I did a mock. Can we write the answers in both Excel and Word, and will the marker see both? Akashaya, I don't see that you would have wasted time if you've written the answers in both Excel and Word. It's a duplication. You're not going to get any extra marks. Work out for you what is quicker, work out for you what is more efficient, and just do it in one. Yeah, don't write long answers in your Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheets are there for numbers and supporting words. Okay, so don't copy and paste across, and don't duplicate. I hope that helps. What else? What else? What other questions do I have here? If you are doing the UK exam with UK GAAP, how does this affect question 3 and question 4? Good question, Joshua. If you're doing the Irish variant or you're doing the UK variant, there will be a difference in question 3. But you won't know that because you're only doing one exam. So when you're doing the exam, with the benefit of hindsight, question 3 has had some surgery to it. ACCA on the practice platform, you can practice the UK variant, the Irish variant questions. You'll see basically they are the same except question 3. Okay, so thank you for that question, Joshua. Bianca, your technical article questions are very helpful. I just wanted to check, do you have any specific topics that need to be studied and revised again in the final examination day? Thank you, Bianca. If you go on to the ACCA technical articles, you will come across some various sort of technical videos I've done for them. Sustainability. I'm not tipping. I'm simply saying that sustainability is such an important current issue that I would be surprised surprised if there wasn't some reference somehow to S1, S2 sustainability reporting in the exam. Now, that's not to say it is coming up. I'm merely pointing out that it's an important part of the ACCA syllabus, and it's something that you need up-to-date material on in order to make sure you're comfortable with. So Bianca, my answer there is sustainability. Lerato, in which order do you suggest we answer the questions? In which order do you suggest we answer the questions? That's a good question. In the order that you're comfortable with. I know what I would do. I would start with my strongest question. I would start well. I would want an early goal. I'd want to feel confident after an hour that, yeah, this is going well. So I wouldn't tackle my most difficult question first. For many, not all, everyone's an individual, you're an adult. For many, question 2 on ethics has the potential for low-hanging fruit, has the potential for thinking and writing and coming up with a reasonable answer. So selfishly, I think I would probably start with question 2. But I don't want to tell people what they should do because they need to apply their strategy in the mocks and play to their own strengths. But start with a strong question first. Zakira says, so thank you for your question, Lerato. Thank you for your question. Zakira says, what is the advice on how much time to spend on each question? Oh, lovely question. Let me twist it. We saw a requirement a minute ago of a 30-mark question. So a 30-mark question is about a third of the exam. So you're spending that's not necessarily the right approach. If you've got 3 marks in A part 1, then 3 marks in A part 1 should take you 5 minutes. Yeah, there's a ratio of about 1.8. So try and think that if it's 5 marks, it's worth 9 minutes. So don't think about moving on from the end of a question. Think, how much time should I be spending on this particular part of the question? Break it down. Break it down. Tasnia says, can you advise on how to deal with exam anxiety? Respect for acknowledging that taking exams are stressful. I think there's a variety of strategies that you can adopt to try and reduce the amount of your stress. One is, ironically, to do mock exams, try and put you to try and get you used to the pressure of doing questions at a time on the practice platform. So when you do it in the real exam, it's a familiar environment. I think exercise, I think being outdoors, I think talking, I think medication, I think swimming, yeah, all of those things to different people, to different extents, can help with their anxiety, all right? Talking to your loved ones, making sure, yeah, that you've got it in context. You need 50%. You're not landing that aeroplane. You're not doing open heart surgery. You're doing an exam. You're doing your best, all right? That's, I suppose, the attitude that we have. But I can see Martin's face, and I look at my watch, and I have to be respectful of time. You will only have 3 hours and 15 minutes in the exam. You will only have that time, and I only have 60 minutes.
Thank you, Tom. Before I let you go, I want you to respond to a question that's been popping up a lot, and that's around marginal fails, students who've previously failed with 49, 48. I'll let you share a few tips on what they should do as they prepare for their receipt. And before that, I have shared in the chat a link to a video that you have done, Tom, on how to approach question 1 and the pre-populated spreadsheet. We've also been receiving quite a number of questions on that, so I needed to share. And there's a whole host of other videos on the ACCA YouTube channel. Head over to SBR playlist and just check out the video. But now, Tom, marginal fails, advice for receipters and anyone to avoid scoring of 49, 48.
What a great session we've had. How many, what a lot of interaction. And I wish it could be 3 hours and 50 minutes, but it is an hour. And thank you, Martin, for that last question. I'm talking here to those people who marginally failed last time. And it is tough to get yourself up again, to resit the exam. In a strange way, though, and I'm going to be a little bit provocative, it's probably better that you failed with 48, 49 than you failed with 28, 29. If you're a marginal fail, yeah, you go again, and you only need to marginally improve your performance in order to get over the line. It will be a different exam. It will be a different exam. You need to embrace effectively a lot of the messages that I have been talking about here today. In other words, time management is crucial. Yeah. I suspect if you got 48, 49, the vast majority of students that I talked to in that situation had enough knowledge to pass the exam. And if they'd only had another 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the exam, they would have found a way of getting a few extra marks. Now, you can't slow down time. What you can do is improve your exam technique, not adding up totals in question 1, yeah, moving on, getting the low-hanging fruit, being a little bit aggressive, being lucky. And the ACCA, and this is now not only to the marginal students, this is everybody. The ACCA have released a pre-mock examination. Question 1, Whittaker. You can find it on the ACCA practice platform. You can find my video debriefs of that on YouTube. There's answers out there on LinkedIn as well. So please take advantage of the opportunity to prepare properly. Leave no stone unturned. And those of you who've marginally failed, and those of you who are doing the exam the first time, and everybody who's doing the exam the first time, can I just wish you best of luck? But don't rely on luck. Try and make your own luck. All right?
All right. Thank you so much, Tom, for that great session. Lots of questions that we have received. We have attempted to respond to as many as we could. So just a quick reminder to everyone that this session will be available on demand. So please do check out for that email tomorrow if you want to listen in to it again. And like Tom has said, this is a time to do your mock. What you need to be ready for is the exam. You don't need to be ready for the mock. The mock is meant to help you prepare for the exam and do it early so that you have time to build up on the feedback and the areas that you've identified. And there's a model answer and a marking guide on the practice platform to help you do that, as well as debrief videos to help you understand how those questions should have been answered. So that's all the time that we had for the session today. Thank you everyone for finding time to join this session, and we hope what we have shared has been useful and will help you to pass SBR in your upcoming exam. So best of luck and all the best in your exam preparations. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, everybody.